Hello kids, how are you doing? Great, I believe. Last week, we looked at temporary and permanent stitches and also discussed on how to make use of each of them. Before I start this class, remember, get your sewing tools ready. That is, any materials of your choice, tape, scissors, thread. Today, we are looking at decorative stitches. Hope you have your note and pen with you right now. If not, go and get yours. Hope you've done that. Now let's look at the objective. Number one, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to define decorative stitches, list uses of decorative stitches, state out types of decorative stitches, and steps in making some decorative stitches. Now, let's start. Decorative stitches. Decorative stitches can be sewn just like regular stitch. They are generally wider than regular stitches. Decorative sewing does the functions of basic sewing, that is, joining two fabric together until you reach the edge of the fabric, or for stitching the fabric with plates or darts. And also, note, any simple garment can be made more attractive by an imaginative use of simple embroidery. That is, you can decide to sit, bring out your material and think of any design, any embroidery that you want to use, and at the end of it is going to come out nice. Even as a beginner who have learned some basic sewing skills can create simple design which sewn neatly can look extremely effective. Put yourself in that position. You are a beginner and you have learned some basic sewing. That is when we talk about the temporary and the permanent stitches. So you are ready, and by the time you want to create something simple design, you should be able to do it neatly, and at the end it will be very effective. Now let's look at the uses of decorative stitches. You can look at the diagram that we are seeing here. You can see it, see the design. So what we are saying here is that number one uses of decorative stitches is to decorate and beautify clothes, garments, or fabric. So that is why I gave the two diagram here. You can see the top and then the shorts. So decorative stitches used on a garment for what? For decoration and to beautify them. Decorative stitches are used for finish raw edges of tablecloths, beds, and pillowcases. Now look at it here. Are they not nice? So at the edge, you can see the edge of the pillowcase. See all the decoration there, and this also is the examples of tablecloths. These are made with decorative stitches. Number three, Decorative stitches are used to beautify our clothes with colored thread different from the material. You are using a colored thread. You know when we talk about, if you remember the permanent stitches, that when we are making a permanent stitches, the color of your material and the color of your thread must be the same. But when you are using these decorative stitches, you can use another colors. Now look at the diagram there. You can see the color, how colorful this top is. So decorative stitches are used with different color to beautify our garments. Types of decorative stitches. 1. Chain stitches. 2. Stem stitches. 3. Satin stitches. 4. Feather stitches. 5. Whipped running stitches. 6. Herringbone stitches. Now we are going to look at each of these types of decorative stitches one by one, with the meaning and also how to make use of them. We are going to see a lot of sample of each of these type of decorative stitches so that we can be able to identify them anytime we see them. In this lesson also, we will look at chain stitches, stem stitches, and satin stitches. So thereby, in our next class, we are going to complete the other types of decorative stitches. That is the feather stitches, whip running stitches, and herringbone stitches. Now let's move. Stitches. Chain stitches is often used for thicker outlines and single stitches or group stitches. It is often used for thicker outline. What we are talking is that when you want to make a thicker outline, you want to make a design on your top, you can make use of it, and we use it for single stitches or group stitches. And it can also be combined with other embroidery stitches to create a decorative design. How to make chain stitches. 1. Draw useful design. That is, you make your design on your material. Fasten the thread using back stitches. You can see it from our diagram there. Number 2. 3. Bring out the needle a short space down. 4. Put the needle on the side of the first leg and bring it out. Lastly, fasten thread to cut at the end so you can continue with the repeat pattern. Stem stitches. This is a great outline stitches which can be used to sew outlines of all embroidery design. I repeat, is a great outline stitch which can be used. You can use it to sew all embroidery design for sewing stem in your flowery designs and works in outlining very tight curve easily and prettily. Stem stitch is a basic outline stitch which everyone who embroiders must have used at least once. How to do stem stitches. Step 1. Thread your needle with 2 strands of embroidery floss. Knot the thread at the end. Step 2. Bring up the needle from the back of the clothes with a knot, anchor at the back at the start of the stitches line. Step 3. Take needle down a stitch, that is from 1 to 2, then bring up the needle almost halfway back, that is 2 and 3, with thread kept down on the left side of the needle. Take notes. The picture shows the sequence of stitches. Please note that the stitches are all made strictly on the stitches line. Don't leave that line. Step 4. Repeat the stitches, bringing up the needle, always on the right side of the previous stitch. Satin stitches. Satin stitches is a series of flat stitches that are used to completely cover a section of the background fabric. We are saying, get a fabric, that is your material. When you want to start satin stitches, pick a section that you will design. As you want to start, you are going to make use of satin stitches. It will cover all the background of that particular section that you selected. How to do satin stitches? How do we use it? 1. Practice on fabric spare. Satin stitches by hand takes accuracy. Practice on spare fabric first so that you can get a sense of how tight to stitch and how to keep the stitches as close as possible. Get a small fabric to practice with to learn the method or the ways of sewing before you can go for the main stitches. Now, start with a simple square or a circle before trying to attempt satin stitch patterns. Next, place the fabric in an embroidering hoop, that is a circular band of metal. So you can watch the video, that short video, to see it. Place the fabric in an embroidering hoop, that is a circular band of metal. Always keep the area you have embroidered in a fabric hoop. This will keep the fabric tight and flat while you worked. You can see it. Next, choose a narrow area. Only include satin stitches in narrow spaces, no more than half inches, that is 1.25 centimeter wide. Long satin stitches will flaunt loose and look messy. So try as much as possible to keep it to that 1.25 centimeter wide so that it will not be too long. It will get loose and it will not look nice. Next one. Stitch as close together as possible. As you can see from our video, you do not want any gaps between two stitches. Stitch as close as you can without tangling the threads in tight parallel rows. Also, practice the satin stitch until you can pull the thread tight enough to lie flat, but loosen enough that they don't spoil the shape of the clothes. Stitches too tightly is a common mistake. Yes, everybody make that. So when it's too tight, at times we try to make, because we don't want it to loose, we try to tighten it. Is a common mistake. Try to use a consistent force for each stitch, or you have loose threads. So try as much as possible to be consistent with the force that you are using for each thread, or else you are going to lose all the thread. Lastly, include satin stitch in your design. Once you are confident with your scrap clothes, move on to a real project. That is, you are through with your scrap fabric that you are using. Now you can move on. You want to do the real one. Now let me give you a few ideas or tips. 1. Outline the edge of a garment. 2. Design your project. 3. Sew buttonholes with an extra narrow satin stitch. When you feel ready, try a whole hat piece with satin stitches. Remember to stick to narrow stitches only. We will stop here for this topic. Let's take a recap. We start with decorative stitches. We look at the types of decorative stitches, where we mention chain stitches, stem stitches, satin stitches, feather stitches, whipped running stitches, herringbone stitches. And we've looked at chain stitches today. We've looked at stem and satin. So by next topic, we're going to look at feather stitches, whipped running stitches, herringbone stitches, and we're also going to look at the types and the uses of them. Hope you've enjoyed this class today. Don't forget to get all your sewing tools. I'm sure we are all having fun as we will try all the stitches at home. Keep learning. See you next class. Bye.